So physical things we can do, exercise, hydration, healthy diet, fiber and whole foods, make sure we're sleeping. I like that. Excellent. What about, are there any sort of mindset related things that women can do to help themselves get through this period?
Yeah, so I think, I mean, everything that we experience is our perception of our events of our life. So I think, for myself, a big part was like trying to find a separation between how I was, who I am, and the symptoms that I was experiencing. Because if you own those symptoms, like I am a depressed person, I am somebody who is overweight and out of shape. You manifest that in the world, right? So I
Yes.
think it's understanding that this is a period of time. These are symptoms that are happening to me. Now, what are the best ways that I can, what routes can I go that are going to assist me in the best way possible? So what we know about women who are highly symptomatic is that they're easily overwhelmed, right? So we need to, and their nervous system is on high alert. So we need to do things that really calm the nervous system down.
Mhm.
I know for myself, I couldn't even watch the news for about 2 years in perimenopause because any negative event, I would just hyper focus on it, and it would just really bring me down. So I could only expose myself to positive things. So I had to really kind of limit my sphere of influence in those critical couple of
Mhm.
years. So I would say, things like journaling. So if you're feeling overwhelmed, writing your thoughts down. What I actually did is I videotaped myself when I was feeling well. And then I would play it back to myself when I wasn't feeling well to show myself that I have the capacity to be well.
Oh my
And there's
goodness.
nothing more powerful. Yeah, there's nothing more powerful than watching yourself tell yourself that I'm well, that I'm happy, that I have optimism,
You can see
so
me, well, listeners can't see me, but on the video you can see me sitting here with my mouth hanging open. That is brilliant. And I truly never thought that could be applied in so many ways, but yes, to see yourself feeling well, telling yourself you can have the capacity to feel well. Amazing. Okay, sorry. Please keep going.
yeah, because when you're not well, you think you can never be well again. But when you're well, you think these symptoms are never going to come back. So it's just, it would just calm me down enough to say like, yeah, I can remember that time, and I can remember what I was feeling, and I remembered what I did, and it just helps to just buoy you up enough, even when the symptoms are severe, that you can still have that moving forward kind of trajectory, and you're not just sitting in place stewing in your painful emotions. Gardening was another one that was really cathartic for me, and I think, we don't totally understand it, but there's definitely some kind of connection between the earth and our happiness. So I planted a full veggie and fruit garden, and just even digging up the soil, I could go out there so angry and so enraged, and like smelling the dirt and watching the earthworms and seeing life grow. It was just, it could be transformative. And it seems kind of shocking, I think, to a lot of people. And I think we're really focused on taking medications to take symptoms away. And I'm certainly not anti-medication. I took medications through the perimenopausal transition, but I also think that there are natural things that we can do and life affirming enterprises that we can pursue that can actually help us to feel better.
Yes.
um, Pet therapy, I mean, I have Wilbur now, but I can remember being so upset and crying. I would always wear sunglasses because I was crying half the time. I remember on a walk running into a dog on the seawall and just seeing the dog, having him lick me, pet him. After I walked by, I stopped crying. And it's like, wow, like, how did that, why did that happen? How is that possible? But again, there's a connection between people and animals. So I think we're just sort of starting to understand that. Other things, I used to do a lot of self massage. If you've got the money, you can go out and get a massage, and just reaching out for support to other people, like people who are in your safe space. I had to pull away from some friendships where I knew that they didn't understand, but you have your safe network, and you don't need to feel shame. It's important to be transparent, to be honest about your experience. This is what I'm going through. I need you to help me with X, please.
Mhm.
Or I need a hug, or I
Mhm.
need some advice, and really making sure that you don't completely self-isolate. That's just a formula for heightened anxiety and depression if we just bury ourselves and barricade ourselves in our home and opt out of life, even though, it seems like you might want to do that. It's not a healthy choice, at least definitely not long term.
Yes. Great points. I'm still a bit flummoxed by the videotape yourself idea, but great points. Gardening and being around other people, hugs, goodness, for sure. Absolutely. Fantastic list. And so, listeners, make sure you save this episode so you can refer to that list when you need to, right? So, we've turned it around in a more positive way. We've talked about what we can do, but you said something to me, and you said it earlier today, that I want to make sure we touch on. And that was about looking this also as the opportunity to reinvent yourself or sort of become something new afterwards. So tell me a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so I think, well, what research shows is that peak happiness for women is in the 60s and 70s. So that's squarely in the postmenopausal space. So I think that's something that we can certainly look forward to. Peak unhappiness for women is in the range of 45 to 55, which is the exact range of the menopausal transition, right? For 90% of women will hit menopause between 45 and 55. So, I see menopause as a complete rewiring of your brain. And it really is, because we're now, unless we're taking hormone therapy, we are permanently in a low estrogen and low progesterone environment for the rest of our lives. So, the decreasing of those hormones have cascading effects on our neurotransmitters, on all our other hormones, on our bodily functions. But I think, see, estrogen is a hormone that it's kind of like a nesting hormone, right? It's when women are in a reproductive phase, right, and thinking about having children, you're wanting the nest, you want to, you're protective, you want to please. And I think to a large degree in postmenopause, you lose that desire to want to please. So it doesn't mean that you're going around, like an angry, difficult person, but it means that, you're more willing to assert yourself, and you believe you have the right to assert yourself. And when you do, and perhaps you get a negative response, you don't feel upset. You don't feel guilty. You don't feel this need to please. You don't say you're sorry if you're not. And so I think it's incredibly liberating. It's incredibly liberating. I spent my whole life saying I'm sorry and feeling guilty. And so just to not have that, just to be able to just, in a calm, assertive way, express your opinion. Or somebody might ask me, do I want to do X? And I used to agree to do things that I didn't want to do because I felt like, well, I've got to appease. I don't want to appear like I'm disinterested. And now, I just say, thank you for asking, but I'm not interested. Thank you. And that's it. So, beyond that, I think there's a real opportunity for reinvention. So we see women creating whole new businesses, just like I did with a menopausal mind. So women might change careers, they might go back to school, they might open up a new business, they, all kinds of things. They might travel, and we know that, there's a high divorce level in the 45 to 55. Now, that might be good or bad or both, but it might partly stem from the fact that women aren't willing to tolerate the relationship. So if they're in a bad marriage, when they get to menopause, they say, you know what, enough is enough. I want to live the
Maybe.
rest of my life in harmony, and I'm moving on, and they maybe go on and live a single life. They're single and they find the love of their lives. I know my own mother, she found the love of her life in her 60s and went on to have decades of an amazing relationship after a horrible marriage to my father. So, I think it's really, really exciting, the opportunities that exist. But I will say that women need to do the work to get there. So you've got to really work on your relationship with yourself. I think the transition is an opportunity for women to really get to know themselves. Who am I? What are my strengths? What are my values? Where am I going? What's my relationship with my community? What's my purpose? And for women who don't want to do that level of introspection, the trajectory isn't an upward one. So I think I really encourage women to do that, and to go on a process of self-discovery, and really learn to love yourself.
Fantastic. Fantastic. And that's one thing I help coaching clients with for sure. And clearly you help them through your business as well. So that's a fantastic way, I think, to wrap this episode up, is by just pointing out that we want to understand ourselves. We want to appreciate ourselves. We want to, at all costs, avoid berating ourselves and all the self criticism that is somewhat a natural function of the brain sometimes, but understand that and move away from it. Fantastic way to wrap this up. I agree with everything you said.